From ear to ear, I see that fear in your face. Tell me when the last time you felt safe, cause there's some evil people in the streets. Evil at your front door, creeping while you sleep. It's time to raise up, show that evil we ain't weak. We don't turn the other cheek, I can show you how to be strong. Come on, follow me. Heard you looking for a hero. Well, look up. No more running from the bad guy, I'ma stare him in the eye like, what's up? I know the journey got hard for a minute, but I ain't giving this up. Yeah, I got the heart of a champion. If I get knocked down, I get back up.
I don't know what's going on, you guys. It just wants to give me problems today, but I'm going to tell you what, we're going to get through this. So, what I'm saying, welcome to Insights of a Survivor. First, I would like to apologize because I wasn't here last week. I don't know what's going on with my computer, but I'm going to get it right, y'all. I'm getting it right. Sometimes things happen. Life was life. So I missed a week. You guys, I missed a week. Sorry. But that's okay. Because I'm here now and we're going to act like we're going to be like those friends that are friends who haven't seen each other in 3 years. But then when they see each other, they act like they haven't seen each other for, they act like it's just didn't skip a beat. So we didn't skip a beat and we're going to go from here. So I just want to thank you guys all again for being patient with me. I'm so sorry that I missed last week. But tonight is my solo night. And I want to, first, again, grateful you joining me today, but I want to give a quick trigger warning. Today we're going to explore something that isn't really talked about nearly enough. And it's the pain that comes from being smart, from being perceptive, there's that word, or deeply aware, and how experiences of being punished for that intelligence can cripple us into our adult relationships, especially abusive ones. So viewer's discretion is advised. So just think a moment about how often you felt like your thoughts, your observations, or your insights were somehow too much for some of the people around you. Maybe you were a child who noticed things that other people didn't, questions that made adults uncomfortable, or patterns that no one else wanted to see. Perhaps you were labeled too sensitive, too difficult, or argumentative, just because you refused to ignore the truth that's right in front of you. Maybe your curiosity made you feel like your intelligence itself was a liability, something that had to be hidden or suppressed. And the thing is, when this happens, and it happens repeatedly, it teaches your mind that something is dangerous within you without you even realizing it. It teaches you that your way of seeing the world is unsafe. It teaches you that knowledge and awareness can bring pain. It can. And it teaches you that being who you are, which is fully aware, fully thinking, fully feeling, is somehow wrong. When these lessons are learned early, they don't just disappear. Once we become adults, they follow us into our relationships, into our workplaces, and to the ways we interact with the world. And that heightened awareness, which once made you sharp, capable, and observant, it can also make you a target for manipulation. You start to second guess yourself. You start to shrink your voice. You start to silence the very part of yourself that is meant to shine. And in my case, not even acknowledge the intelligence that's within you. Kind of giving you guys a quick warning. There's a storm out here. There has been blackouts like crazy around here. So if this show ends because of a blackout, sorry, and I'll see you next week. Hopefully it'll go out after the show is over, but it's been happening quite often lately because of these storms out here in Costa Rica. Pura vida. I love it. So back to this. You start to shrink your voice. You start to silence the very part of yourself that was meant to shine, which is your intelligence. And in an abusive partnership, this becomes even more pronounced. The same intelligence that should be a source of power can be used against you. I was punished for saying big words, you guys, and things that I didn't even realize were big words. I'm like, really? Okay. So your insights can become twisted, your perceptions can be questioned, and your reality is denied. What once made you feel proud and capable can become your source of fear and doubt. But there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing. And here's the thing that you need to know before we go any further. Before we go in, none of this is your fault. None of it. Being perceptive, being aware, being intelligent, these are gifts. The pain that comes not from you, but from the whole world and how they perceive you, how the people around you, and sometimes those who are meant to protect you respond to that awareness. That's their fault, not yours. And understanding this is the first step to reclaiming your power. Today, we're going to explore not just the ways in which this type of early trauma shows up in adult relationships, but also the ways to recognize it, to protect yourself from it, and ultimately to start to heal from it. So, throughout this episode, I'll share reflections, insights, and examples that highlight how early experiences, and I'm saying early experiences, but it's not even just early experiences, how experiences of being punished for intelligence, for perceptiveness, and that all of that can shape the way we see ourselves, the way we relate to others, and the way we handle conflict, control, and trust. We'll talk about subtle ways that this kind of trauma can manifest, from self-doubt and to overthinking, to fear from speaking up and difficulty asserting boundaries. And we'll talk about hope, the knowledge that you can reclaim your voice, reclaim the power, and reclaim your mind from the patterns that have held you back for so long. So if you've ever been made to feel like your mind was too much, like your awareness was dangerous, or like your intelligence was something to hide, this episode is for you. You're not alone. You were treated as a weakness, and that is in the past. So today we're going to explore these truths together, and we're going to take the first steps toward understanding, reclaiming, and healing. So let's dive in. And if you guys heard that knocking at the door, that was probably my son. He forgets that I have these shows sometimes, and he'll knock on the door, because my kids come over. So if you heard the knocking, I'm sorry. And if you didn't, hey, you just got into my little life. My babies, they come over whenever they want. This is their house too. So let's first talk about the punishment of intelligence. From a very young age, many of us are conditioned to fit a mold that the world deems acceptable. But being smart is one of those roles that we're supposed to fit in. And anything that challenges this mold is often met with resistance, disapproval, and even punishment. Even though we're told that we're supposed to be smart, there go that time there. Our intellect, curiosity, and perceptiveness, those traits that should be celebrated. They should be like, oh my God, you're so smart. They're honestly, frequently, a lot of times, they're treated as threats. Maybe it's a teacher who tells you to stop showing off for class, or, because you're answering all these correct questions correctly, dismissing your efforts as arrogance rather than as intelligence because you're proud. I know the answer. Let me answer the question. They're going to look at you like quit showing off in class. And you could get in trouble for that, which I have. Maybe it's a sibling who talks about your curiosity, turning your natural desire to understand the world into something shameful. Or your cousins, or anybody who you grew up close to in your family who made you feel different for being curious and smart. Or your parents who felt threatened by your insight and try to control you or silence you. Even well-meaning adults can unintentionally send the message that noticing, questioning, or thinking deeply is wrong. And these early interactions are more than just minor frustrations or passing criticisms. They are the first lessons that being smart, being aware, now that's the motorcycle, and being perceptive can be dangerous. So all these people are threatened by a child. And they're letting them know they're threatened by you. Now kids are cruel. I can understand that, but adults not nurturing that intelligence that's within you, that's horrible. And over time, these repeated messages can create an internalized belief that your mind itself is a problem. that your insight is not welcome, and that your very way of thinking must be hidden in order to survive emotionally. AKA, you're going to get made fun of for being different. You're going to get talked about for asking too many questions. I get that way. I get frustrated. My husband asks a million questions. Oh my God. If he don't understand, he's going to ask. And if he don't get it, he's going to ask again. And I'm guilty of that. Oh my God, will you just stop asking me so many questions? But that's just the way his mind works. His curiosity. It's like, I just want to know. And the only way I'm going to know is if I ask. But this pattern of punishment and dismissal is not simply a part of growing up. It's a form of trauma that embeds itself in the psyche over time. And every moment when our intelligence is mocked, when we're made fun of for being smart, when we're criticized or belittled, is a moment that teaches us to question the value of our own mind. Each correction, each whispered critique, each roll of an eye or a sarcastic comment communicates that our natural curiosity or our sharp observations and our analytical thinking are too much for people around us to handle. You know that every time I do something, I do my own stuff. I do my own content. Any poster that you see, a website that I make it myself. Do you know how many people want to give me unsolicited? Oh, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. I did it the way I liked it. I'm not going to say I don't care what my audience thinks, because I do want you guys to like what I do. But if I don't ask your opinion, why are you, if you just do this, if you just do that. No, I did things the way I want, but people have a tendency to try to change you to their comfort. That's one of the things that I've had to deal with like for years. Each correction, each critiqued whisper, all of that, it makes you not trust your own mind. And in these moments, that shame begins to take root, planting seeds of doubt and self-doubt. That's how self-doubt can grow into a constant gnawing need to hide your ability, to hide your intelligence. You know how many years I hid that I was smart. I'm smart. I'm not gonna hide it anymore. I mean, I feel funny just saying it. I'm like, I want to stop. I want to stop because I'm programmed to not say that I'm smart. It took years for me to stop hiding that. And we start to believe that speaking our truth, expressing our insights, or simply thinking for ourselves will lead to conflict, rejection, or punishment. And we learn to shrink, to downplay, to mask our intelligence just to feel accepted or loved. And we should not have to ever do that. The consequence of this early trauma extends far beyond childhood. As we get older, these internalized messages begin to shape how we view ourselves, how we relate to others, how we navigate the world. The very qualities that once defined our uniqueness, that right there, that word uniqueness, we are unique. Our ability to see patterns that other people miss, to anticipate the outcomes, to think critically, can be a source of anxiety, subconsciousness, and hesitation. Because when I see something happen and I want to say something so bad, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But then if I say something, it's like, why? What makes you think you know it all? Or if I do let them know that it happens, and then it happens, they don't listen, and that outcome comes out to the well, it's still somehow blamed on me. It's like, but I told you not to do that. So either way, knowing something can always get me in trouble. We may find ourselves avoiding opportunities to share our ideas, questioning every thought before expressing it, or even doubting our capacity to make sound judgments. And in relationships, this pattern can be especially damaging, as the learned fear of being too much for others, that it may lead to a tolerant manipulation for them to control or even abuse us. We begin to suppress parts of ourselves that are most powerful in order to fit into spaces that were not designed to contain our full intelligence. Shrink ourselves down so that we can be cramped into these little boxes that we're too big for. No, don't do that. Recognizing this pattern is the first step towards reclaiming what was always yours. The freedom to think deeply, speak boldly, and trust your own perceptions. It is a process of understanding that shame, doubt, and fear instilled in us were never about who we are, but how the world reacted to our natural awareness, about how the world feared our intelligence. That's just what it is. Healing begins when we allow ourselves to honor our intellect and curiosity, to embrace the parts of ourselves that were conditioned to feel dangerous, and to challenge the internalized messages that taught us to shrink. By reclaiming our voice, our insight, our confidence, we can break the cycle of hiding, self censoring, and diminishing our potential and hiding our intelligence. No. The journey is not easy, but the echoes of early punishment can linger. And the echoes of early punishment can linger. Being slapped in your mouth, correcting your mom when she misspoke. Oh, that was my thing. I used to get slapped a lot for that's not how you say that. That's not what that means. I'm really big on correcting people's grammar or correcting. That's not what that means. You're misusing that word. The definition for and I got in trouble a lot for that. I still do. I still do. Because people don't want to be corrected, but they want to correct you because they want to shrink you down and say, "Hey, I'm smarter than you," or "I'm just as smart as you." But it's never really a competition. It's never really a top competition. So how can this manifest into adult relationships? So we're going to fast forward into adulthood. The patterns that were established in childhood do not disappear. And if you were conditioned to believe that your intelligence, your awareness, and your perceptiveness was unsafe, those beliefs can quietly follow you into an adult relationship, shaping how you interact, who you trust, and how you respond to challenges. In particular, abusive and controlling partners are often very adept to assisting these traits. Someone who feels threatened by your insight and your ability to read between the lines, your capability to understand their manipulations may unconsciously or intentionally seek to undermine, control, or silence you. So let me say that again. Your abusers know you're smart. They know that you can see that they're manipulating you. They know that you read between the lines and that you see what they're doing. So they're either unknowingly or intentionally. A lot of times, depending on the abuser, it is intentionally, but sometimes it's unknowingly. They seek to undermine you, control you, or silence you, so that you can be basically to shrink you. And what was once a source of pride, the sharpness of your mind and the clarity of perception, can become a target for someone who wants to dominate, manipulate, or maintain power over you. That happened to me in my first marriage. He made me feel ashamed of my intelligence, like I was looking at him like he was stupid. No, that's not what I'm doing. So I pretended like I didn't know what I knew. I played dumb, and not just like a little bit. I was not trying to play average because just because you're not of above intelligence does not mean that you're not intelligent at all. I'm not saying anything like that. What I'm saying is, if you show that you know more than most people, it can be intimidating. And if you have someone who wants to control you and they are intimidated by that, they're going to try to break that out of you to maintain power over you. Abusive partners may employ a variety of tactics to exploit the scars left by childhood experience as a punishment for being smart. Gaslighting is one of the most common tools. They may make you question your reality, twist the truth, or deny events that you clearly remember. Like, come on now. This just happened yesterday, and I know you're the one that burnt those pancakes. Why are you trying to act like I was the one in the kitchen cooking? I wasn't cooking yesterday. That's an example that didn't really happen, but still, like, I know. How do I know? Because I remember right before this happened, that happened. Right then, during the time the fire smoke alarm went off, I came in the room. Like, you can break down every moment of what happened, and they're still going to try and make you remember it the way they want you to remember it. They might label your awareness as overthinking, belittle your concerns, or dismiss your instincts as irrational. You're overreacting. It didn't happen like that. You're overreacting. This can feel familiar, almost like you were playing a replay of your early life when speaking up or expressing insights was punished or ridiculed. Because I have flat out been slapped by not only my parent, my mom, but my ex-husband for pointing out what I have observed, correcting something that they felt I was trying to make them look stupid. And I'm just like, I'm just telling the truth. And the results is your natural abilities to observe, analyze, and articulate what is happening around you no longer are no longer sources of confidence, but triggers for fear, anxiety, and self-doubt. So things that you're supposed to be proud of, things that you're able to articulate, becomes a trigger because you're afraid of the punishment that's going to happen as a result of your being smart. The deeper impact comes from how these patterns intersect with the coping mechanisms you develop as a child. When you were young, you learned how to hide your intelligence to protect yourself, to downplay your thoughts to avoid conflict, and to silence your voice to avoid punishment or shame. And in adulthood, these same habits can make it extremely difficult to set boundaries, to speak out against manipulation or recognize red flags in real time. You may find yourself constantly questioning whether your perceptions are valid, whether your instincts are exaggerated, or whether you are too sensitive. Am I being too sensitive? Am I being too much? The very trauma that taught you to survive as a child now becomes your barrier, a barrier to safety, clarity, and empowerment as an adult. Ultimately, you're being targeted. Being targeted in adult relationships is not a reflection of failure on your part, though. It's not. It's not your flaw in your intelligence or your awareness. The struggle arises from lingering effects and early conditioning and trauma. These messages you internalize that told you that your mind was too much, your insight is too dangerous, and your voice is unsafe. Understanding this connection is crucial because it shifts the blame from yourself and illuminates the ways that trauma can can shape the relational dynamics. Recognizing that your hesitation, your self-doubt, or silence is rooted in past experience and sometimes in your present experience, which allows you to reclaim it will allow you to reclaim your power, rebuild trust in your own perception, and begin to navigate relationships with confidence, clarity, and boundaries that were denied for you for far too long. So here's how you recognize and heal. Okay. The first step is moving forward. In moving forward is naming the pattern and understanding its source. Not in it. I'm saying and. I speak fast. I'm trying to go fast so that I can get all of this information into before the show is over. But it's crucial to recognize that your intelligence, your awareness, or your perceptiveness is not a problem. And it never was. It never will be. What is, is traumatic. The traumatic ways that you were punished, ridiculed, or suppressed. That's it. That that is what the problem is. Your experiences of using your mind were punished. For noticing what others overlooked, you were punished. For thinking in ways that challenged the comfort zones of those around you. So for challenging the status quo, you were punished. Acknowledging this truth is a powerful act in itself because it separates your inherited abilities from the harm inflicted on you. When you can see that the trauma lies not in your intellect, but how it was treated. Your intellect was mistreated, not the other way around. So you being intelligent wasn't the problem. It wasn't causing you to be mistreated. They were mistreated because of their inability to understand and respect the intelligence that's within you. You create a space for clarity. Once you realize this, you create a space for clarity, self-compassion, and intentional healing. Recognizing when your insight or intuition is being dismissed, minimized, or attacked is a vital part of this process. So in adult relationships, this may look like gaslighting, belittlement, or repeated attempts to make you question your observations. So point them out. You're gaslighting me, sir. You're gaslighting me, ma'am. You're trying to belittle me, ma'am. You're trying to, make me question myself, and I know the facts. Call it out. Being able to identify those moments allows you to respond rather than react. It allows you to notice the patterns instead of internalizing blame. Like, no, 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 no. I know what they're doing. Don't let them plague you, sweetie. Or sir, ma'am. However you identify, respect. It is about learning to trust the evidence of your own senses, to honor the conclusions that your mind draws, and protect yourself from the subtle ways past trauma can shape your present interactions. Naming the behavior and separating it from your worth is foundational to regaining control over your emotional and mental space. So, naming it for what it is: intimidation, self doubt within themselves, low self esteem within themselves, or whatever they're feeling within themselves, they're trying to project onto you because they don't want you to know that I'm feeling self conscious about what you made me feel some type of way. And instead of just acknowledging that, the best way they can get that back, that control back, is to attack you. And once you realize that, that is the foundation to regaining control over your emotional and mental space because that is separating the behavior from your worth. Because your worth has nothing to do with your worth. It has to do with what they feel, their self worth, and what they're trying to do to make themselves feel better by attacking yours. Okay? So, reclaiming your right to think, your right to speak and act intelligently without fear is another essential step in healing. This is not just about asserting yourself externally, it's about cultivating internal confidence and self validation. Being proud of your intelligence. Practicing self validation involves reminding yourself constantly and intentionally that noticing, questioning, and understanding the world is a gift, not a threat. Being smart and wanting to learn more is a gift, not a threat. I love the fact that I love to learn and I love to be a nerd, and I will own it until the day I am unalive because I am special because of that. That is a part of who I am, and I am no longer apologizing for it. No longer. It is giving yourself permission to express your thoughts openly, to trust your instincts, to embrace the curiosity and perceptiveness that were once sources of shame. So, whatever they shamed you for, promise. If it wasn't like, I mean, who are you hurting because you're curious? Again, I'm guilty of it. I don't like people asking me any questions. Like, well, give me three. You got three questions. Don't ask me anymore. But it's not their shame for being curious. Mine is just I get annoyed real easy. Don't ask me nothing. But that doesn't mean that they should feel shame for it. This reclamation is a form of empowerment that rewrites the narrative of your intelligence from one of danger to one of strength. So this is basically you reach taking it back, taking that power back, and letting yourself know that your curiosity, your intellect, your observations, all of that, it's not dangerous, it's strength, it's resilience, and it's personal authority. In relationships, this awareness translates into the ability to set firm boundaries, call out manipulative behaviors, and protect your mental and emotional safety. And physical sometimes if it means being able to stop thinking stop and think about how to get out of the situation that you're in. By understanding the roots of your trauma, you learn to trust your mind again and to identify partners who respect, value, and celebrate your intelligence rather than fear or suppress it. This will help you find that right. I mean, this will help you understand I don't need to be in this type of situation. I need to be around individuals. You don't have to, everyone has their own level of intelligence. And when you are around people who are comfortable with their level of intelligence and will allow you to honor yours, whether it's higher or lower, someone smarter than me, I'm not going to shame them for it. I'm going to try to see what I can learn from them. You know, when you're around individuals who will love to watch you grow and we all grow together, that is the best. That's when you know that your healing is working. When you're not afraid to let go of the toxic and to move forward towards a group that's going to accept all of you and celebrate your intelligence rather than fear or suppressing it. Healing is a gradual process, but it is profoundly transformative. You move from a place of hesitation, self-doubt, and concealment to a space of clarity, confidence, and intention. Can't say those big words. See, I can't say all the words either. Over time, you reclaim not only your voice, but your sense of agency, your ability to connect authentically, and your right to engage with a world fully as intelligent, perceptive, and insightful person, as the intelligent, perceptive, and insightful person that you were always meant to be. So I'm done with that. And before closing out, I want to make sure that I give everyone a, what is it called, a resource. I think my brain just said a resource if they need to heal in real time. If you need any real access to immediate support. I spoke about abusive relationships, and if you feel unsafe, please reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-7233, or visit the www.thehotline.org. Okay, so before we get out of here, you guys, please know this: being smart should never be a source of trauma. Yet for many of us, it has been. It has been. From childhood to adulthood, we carried the message that told us our curiosity was dangerous, our questions were too much, and our insights were unwelcome. These experiences can leave dark marks: fear of speaking up, self doubt, and hesitation in trusting our own minds. But here's the truth: none of this reflects a flaw in you. The trauma was never about your intelligence, it was about how others responded to it. And once we understand that, once we open the door to reclaiming that the very power that was targeted, we will be open to healing. The key, the key to this healing is learning to honor your mind and recognizing how past punishment continues to shape present fears. It's about refusing to let anyone, whether from your childhood or even now in your adulthood, silence your brilliance. If it's your mama, your daddy, I don't care. If they're trying to silence your brilliance, respectfully bow out and let them do what they're going to do. You do not have to surround yourself around that. Your insight is not something to hide. It is something to celebrate, nurture, and protect. Every observation, every moment of clarity, every thought that comes from your perceptive mind is a gift. It is your compass for navigating relationships, work, and life itself. When you embrace this truth, you reclaim agency over your voice and your choices, and you give yourself permission to trust your mind again. So I want to leave you with this thought, okay? The very thing that may have made you feel unsafe, your intelligence, can also be your anchor, your guide, your shield. So lean into it, honor it, and protect it fiercely. Your awareness is not a burden, it is your strength. Your clarity is not a threat, it's your gift. And your voice, your thoughts, and your insight deserves to exist safely and unapologetically in the world. So if this episode has resonated with you, I encourage you to journal about the moments when your intelligence felt like a punishment, and how those and reflect on how those experiences show up in your adult relationship. Awareness is the first step towards reclaiming your power. And if you found value in this episode, I'd love for you to subscribe and share this podcast with someone who might need to hear it. Your engagement helps me reach more survivors, more voices, and more people reclaiming their strength. You can also leave a comment or a review. Let me know your thoughts, your insights, or on what was said tonight, or what spoke to you the most. I would love to hear all of your feedback. And always remember that your pain, your healing does not your. I'm sorry. That week off really did a lot to me. Your story doesn't end in pain. It begins in power. So thank you so much for tuning in. And I just really hope that you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And I will see you. Fingers crossed, I'll see you next Friday, okay?